Hello again, it's Mr. RG Stuff back in the workshop with this little white sound box which I took to pieces in a previous video. And at the time I noted that it was very similar to this blue one here. And obviously different colours, but it's basically the same thing. And I also noted that the little screws that came with this white one did appear to be self-tapping ones, but they do actually fit in the little threaded holes. And by comparison with this one, I can see that they are the screws I think that should be in there. So slightly odd, but you know, that seems to be the way it was made. The other things I've noticed, sort of looking at it a little bit more closely, is there's quite a lot of play here. The pivots are loose. That's going to need tightening up. There are little grub screws and little nuts in here, so I can sort that out hopefully. And then the main issue, I think, is the diaphragm. That's pretty banged about. It's just a simple aluminium one, so I'm going to be straightening that in a minute. Haven't quite figured out how I'm going to straighten it, but you'll get to see that as I'm going to get this sorted out and back together again and playing in this video. It's got the same diaphragm as this one here. That one's actually in much better condition, but there's not much point taking that one out because I can see quite clearly what it's supposed to be like. First thing though is to clean up this front panel here. It's just dirty, I think. I'm just going to use a little water on it. The plastic's quite brittle by the looks of it, so I just need to be a little bit careful. It's a little bit broken just there, so I might repair that. We'll see how we get on. Right, well, I've cleaned up the diaphragm with some water, but it's not cleaning as well as I would like it to. And I'm going to try some lighter fluid because I think that might work a bit better. I think this residue around the outside is actually where the gaskets were attached. They seem to be glued on a bit. That's not making as much of a difference as I'd hoped. I mean, it certainly is lifting some of the dirt off. I might have to try some acetone. Okay, well, for acetone I have this nail polish remover. It's got acetone in it, it's not pure acetone. Well, I can't say that's an instant success either, really. Well, I cleaned it up a bit more with a nail polish remover, but to be honest, it didn't make that much difference. I think some of the marks are actually corrosion, and rather than sort of scrape or try to polish them out, I'm just going to leave them for the minute and move on to straightening it out. Right, well, I thought I was done, but I thought it's worth just taking the lid off this one and just see what the diaphragm there actually looks like. And yeah, I mean, it's certainly supposed to be the same thing, but I've got a little bit more bending to do, I think. this circular bit here, this sort of wide rim bit seems to be depressed here. It actually goes in, and I'm lacking that on the one that I've been reforming. So I'm going to have a bash at trying to get that a bit more like it. It's one of these things I'm sure I could I could go for hours and hours and hours on and not actually achieve the effect that I want. Well, it's a poor imitation of what I think it should look like, but I think it will probably do. So we'll put that back in and give it a go. So what I'm looking at now is can I actually adjust the pivot? Definitely a bit of wobble in there. I think it's going to be the case of tightening up the little screws. Let's just loosen off that nut for a moment. Right, that's definitely tighter. I probably should be doing this from both sides, not just one, but I don't know what size these grub screws are, and to be honest I don't really want to find out. Okay, so I'm reasonably happy with that needle bar. It's moving quite freely, maybe not quite as freely as it needs to, but pretty freely, and there's no shaking that at all now. So I think that there's a lot less chance of needle buzz. So what I'm going to do now is actually put the diaphragm back in, and I'm just going to use the same gaskets, because to be honest they're fine. There's nothing wrong with these gaskets. Same gaskets as on this one. Quite why there's a black one and there's a red one, I don't know. Anyway, put them back in. I have to admit, I like the design of this soundbox quite a lot. It is so utilitarian, I think is the word. Now putting in the screw is always a fun bit. Right, and the needle bar itself is actually threaded. There's no nut on the outside. That does actually sound quite hopeful. there's a little bit of rattle because the front cover isn't actually just decorative, it does actually hold things in place. That sounds really quite hopeful. So I'm gonna wax the joints. Just gonna do that now. Now for waxing, I'm going to use this beeswax here. This was a £1 sample packet, and it should last me a lifetime, I should think. Certainly for this purpose. So I just need a small amount for the front and back. Probably too much. Now I could take a lot more time and effort over this soundbox, but I'm not doing anything to it which is irreversible. So I'm just sort of giving it a sort of basic go over, sorting the diaphragm out, sorting out the pivots, re-waxing it, cleaning it up so I can give it a bit of a test play. Now it may come to pieces at some point in the future. I may go over it rather better, I may, but I've got a lot of soundboxes to look at, and this is, as I say, I quite like these soundboxes. They're really quite utilitarian. You do wonder about the company that made them, whether this is a sort of refined design, a sort of highly simplistic design that they came up with after many years of making other sorts of soundboxes, or whether actually they'd never made a soundbox ever before and just knocked up something that they thought would probably do the job. And indeed it does seem to do the job. Right. Just heating up my Modify 3D tool. Just going to put this little ball of wax on top there. Well, that didn't go very well, did it? Okay. Let's get it a little bit smaller bit than that. It's a lot softer now the tool's been on it. Well, I suspect that's a lot more wax than I really needed. Whether it's really done the job is another question. My experience of waxing soundboxes has been limited to the soundboxes of my own design. So it's not like I have no experience, but you could argue no experience worth talking about. I'm going to try and do the inside as well now. Now I probably should put the front on before I do the back, but I want to clean the screws up a little bit first. So I'm just waxing over the screw. I learned from my own sound boxes that whatever you do, you don't tilt the sound box while you're doing the waxing, because the hot wax just runs. And it also stays molten for rather longer than you think it's going to. Right, there we are. Now I can also see a problem in so much that the needle bar isn't quite lined up where it should be. You can probably see that it's sort of, the needle will be pointing towards the back of the sound box rather than pointing straight down. Let's just compare it with this one here. Yeah, that one's nice and straight. So this is going to be a diaphragm problem. So I think I'm just going to have to tweak the diaphragm slightly. Yeah. That's much better. So that that dishing effect there that I didn't really achieve is really important, because otherwise the needle will be at the wrong angle. Right. Okay. So the screws are corroded. So I'm just going to clean them up and pop them back in, and we can give it a go. Right, well, I put a little drop of super glue, this stuff here, on the inside. I just flex the broken bit open again, and just put a little bit of glue in there. I did get a little bit down here as well, which I've wiped up. I'm not a big fan of super glue, actually. It seems to get everywhere and stick my fingers together and the like. But yeah, I don't really want the broken bit of plastic sort of rattling or causing any sort of vibrations. So I think it's better to glue it than not to glue it. Right, just need to put it back together again. Well, it doesn't look too bad. I think I might just give the back a little bit of a clean, because I don't think I did. But yeah, with a bit of luck, that should work just fine. There's no doubt about it, the thumb screw is bent, but it is functional. A lot of the sound boxes that I got in that batch have got bent or damaged thumb screws. It just seems rather odd. They seem to have been very poorly looked after in later years. Now the sound box is quite a tight fit on this gramophone. It's just a friction fit, so I've used a little Vaseline. I'm a bit concerned actually, because the back might be pot metal, so I may have to find a better way of fitting it in the future. I'm going to use Jollity Farm and a soft tone needle, and I'm going to close the lid as well because I think it sounds better that way, although I will show some images of it actually playing on the record also. There's a farm called
misery, but of that I'll have none, because I know of one that's always full of fun. They call this one jollity, believe me, folks, it's great, for everything sings up to me as I go through the gate. All the little things they grunt and howl, the cats meow, the dogs bow wow, everybody makes some row down on Jollity Farm. All the little birds go tweet, 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 the lambs all bleat and shake their feet, everything's a perfect treat down on Jollity Farm. Regular in habit, the cock begins to crow, and the old buck rabbit says, I'm a doody-o-do. All the little ducks go quack, 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 the cows all moo, the bull does too, everyone says, how to do down on Jollity Farm. You won't find much jollity, though you may walk a mile. The sun shines all the while, you cannot help but smile. Farmer's name is Jolly Boy, he's laughing all the day, and when you see his missus, you'll be glad you came that way. All the little things they grunt and howl, the cats meow, the dogs bow wow, everybody makes some row down on Jollity Farm. All the little birds go tweet, 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 the lambs all bleat and shake their feet, everything's a perfect treat down on Jollity Farm. When the dew is soaking, the frogs sing any note, you will hear one croaking, says, I've got a frog in the throat. All the little hens lay eggs with pride, laid or dried, or boiled or fried, some lay two poached side by side, down on Jollity Farm.
Well, I didn't think that sounded too bad actually. It wasn't a proper comparison test, but I will do some of those in the future against other soundboxes. I may also go over the soundbox again and do a little bit more work on it. Certainly the pivots on the needle bar could do with a bit of attention. Okay, well that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and if you haven't subscribed already, I'd be very grateful if you did. Bye for now, and see you in the next video. Thank you.